the people perish. Where there are several demons, the people don't have to necessarily perish. But where there is no vision, where you have people with no vision, they will perish. And so, tonight we want to really ask God for help, because seriously speaking, if you want to look at the trouble in many lives, in many families, in many nations, it's not lack of resources, it is lack of vision. If you have money and have no vision, you are living in poverty. Do you know that in terms of resources, there is no continent richer than Africa? None. I mean, some guys visited me today, some Americans, and the whole idea was to come and share some of the things they do in missions and things like that. But by the time we began to speak, it was looking like we probably wouldn't do more missions than they are doing. Of course, we are going to elaborate because I have vision. I already saw some things that we can partner with. But the point was, you can't find an African who is not having street intelligence. I mean, the mechanic in Africa, he doesn't do diagnosis with machine. He said, "Sir, turn on the ignition." Say, "Stop." And he come and then, so it's the carburetor. Very smart people. Talk about the ground. Just drop the seed of anything. Go back in 3 days. No fertilizer. It's growing. At some point, I mean, Nigeria was the 6th largest producer of oil. I don't know what number we are now. You move from Nigeria to Angola. At some point, Angola was about 8th. Congo, all those places, oil everywhere. So the problem is not that we don't have resources, but we lack vision. It's the same thing. If you have a family, particularly where the head of the family lack vision, everybody is in trouble. Everybody is in trouble. So talking about success, therefore, the very first thing that is crucial is the subject of vision. The man sick of the palsy was lame, but he wasn't blind. Blindness is the enemy of success. There's a lady, called Lara, and the husband, Rogers, or the Rogers family. I mean, they won 1.8 million pounds in lottery. 1.8 million pounds. But after a few years, she was quoted as saying that 1.8 million pound lottery win wrecked my life. End of quote. What happened? They got 1.8 million pounds. Of course, they bought a new home, you can be sure. They bought expensive cars, etc. But do you know that very soon they lost all their fortune, all of it, in debt? Their dream home gone, and unfortunately their 14-year-old marriage also wrecked. Now, everything was good without the money. When the money came, they were wrecked. I can tell you about a lady called Tirabasi or something like that. And for her, she's back in the working class after winning $10 million some years ago. How can anybody win $10 million and is still begging to apply for a job? The point I'm making is that many of us believe our problems that we don't have money. If only I can get $250,000. I know what I'm going to do. My fortune will just, your problem is in money. It doesn't matter how much you have, for as long as you lack vision. In fact, the money can be the reason you get into more trouble. So let's settle the issue from the foundation. The challenge is always the lack of vision. If somebody doesn't have vision, he can't go far in the journey of life. You probably had read about Mark Zuckerberg. You know, his college roommate, Joe Green, turned down an offer to help Zuckerberg start Facebook. When he was going to start Facebook, he told the roommate that, come on, let's do this together. Because when the two were at Harvard, they created a hot or not style website called FaceMash, which got the pair in trouble with the university. So when Zuck asked Green to help him with Facebook, Green's dad discouraged his son from doing another project with Zuck. And Green joined the company in those early days. Had he joined the company in those early days, he would have gotten about 5% stake, he thinks, which today will be worth about $7 billion. But he couldn't see it. There are many millionaires here, and that could have happened maybe 10 years prior, but we didn't see it. Blindness is a terrible thing. And I move away from a few of the illustrations of some blindness that I've seen in the church here so that I don't get anybody, rattled. But I've seen some people, opportunities. I said, well, I don't think I want to do it. And then 5 years had gone. In fact, that's a particular case, 9 years had gone. It's square zero. Because when you can't see it, you're stranded. You have to see it. I mean, I remember Dr. Uche is here. I mean, when we were all, serious strugglers. And I think he stayed a bit longer struggling than I. He had one Beatles those days. Oh, God is good. You saw him, you saw the Beatle, because there was no other thing. But you will see some medical, first aid kits behind. He just said, look, I'm a medical doctor, but I could be a different one. I will go from home to home and take care of people. I mean, he will get to your house, treat you, and he was just doing some things unconventional. You can't understand why a doctor will not be in the hospital. But then at some point, we started thinking that, look, all these oil companies, they are wasting money. There are just too many loopholes. He figured out that, people will go to the doctors, and as it can happen in Nigeria, you can go there with your cousin, you can go with all kinds of people and pretend and lie that they are your relatives and so on and so forth. So look, I can save you guys a lot of money if you will let me consult for you. Presented his proposal to Schlumberger. They've never done something like that before. And so I said, well, let's try. And then we tried. I was in Comp and Ben at that time, compensation and benefits, and so I was first hand, in terms of, the savings. In 1 year, the very first year, he saved us 30 million naira. And that's huge. I mean, I'm talking about days when naira is probably 100 to $1. I don't know how much that would be in dollar, but that's huge. I'm sure you can imagine what it is. So the company said, this looks good. The second year, we saved money again. So they said, please, come, let's talk. And from that moment, it became hot for the company. I said, look, after a while, we'll not be able to pay this guy. We better hire him. My point is, there are many doctors whose salaries have not been paid. Or they are on strike today, on strike tomorrow. They have even forgotten what they learned in school. Because if you don't practice, you are likely to. And so his approach to medicine had gone global, to places where he probably would not have. But at the time where nobody was telling him what to do, he just was young. But he could see that this really can be done. Now, when a man can't see, it's terrible. And that's why tonight I'm believing God to solve the problem of blindness in Jesus' name. Amen. Can I hear your amen? Amen. See, vision is crucial. I can show you a few vision in action. I mean, let's look at one or two famous garage startups. Amazon, for example. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon.com, in 1994, as an online bookstore, At the time, it was completely run out of his garage in Washington. He sold his first book in July 1995, only in July 1995. He issued his IPO 2 years later in 1997. Today is the world's largest online retailer. You can check the address of where he started, at the garage. At the garage. Isn't there something that someone can do? You just must be someone of vision. I read the story of a boy. He's a multi-millionaire now. But he started his first business at 6 years old. See, his father wanted to buy him a bicycle. Fairly expensive. You can call it grade A. And the boy said, Daddy, can you buy me 2 bicycles of grade B? The father said, why do you want grade A and B when you can get grade A? Say, Dad, what do you have to lose? The same budget. 2 of grade B is 1 of grade A. Dad said, you are right. I have nothing to lose. So the father bought him 2. Now, apparently some of his friends whose parents could not afford to buy them bicycle they were envious and jealous of him when they heard that the father was about to buy him bicycle. So when he got the 2, he began to rent out the second bicycle to his friends. At 6, the father was astonished. By 21, he has made his first $1 million because he has to do with sight. He has to do with sight. If you can't see it, you can't get it. And that's why blindness is a very terrible thing. What about, if you look at the second garage startup, at Stanford graduate students, Larry Page and Sergey Brin started what's now known as Google from Susan Wojcik's garage in September 1998. Soon the project was interfering with their schoolwork, so they tried to sell it to Excite for $1 million. Excite rejected the offer. And now Google is the most trafficked site in the world. Again, Excite couldn't see it. That's what I'm saying. There are many millionaires around here that we walked past success, and now we are still struggling. Okay, so although the man sick of palsy was lame, he had vision. That was the very first reason why he succeeded. The lame got his miracle, the blind Pharisees remained blind. You may be handicapped by finances or even opportunities. For as long as you have a compelling vision, you will make it. You definitely will make it. There are many, many things in this place that when God started, we didn't even have money. But I remember those days when everywhere was bush, everywhere. I will walk, because I was not in the office, after studying my Bible, I will walk in between the trees, and I'll just be praying. I say one day we'll have soccer field here. That's where the goalpost will be. The goalpost will be here. We'll just be viewing things. One day a dog came into the bush. I quickly move away from the dog. You have to see it. You know exactly what will come next. What is next? I remember when we were filling the place for soccer field, people said, what are they doing again? We had 400 loads of sand. The treasurer is here. Pastor Ebuna will tell you all of the times that each of those projects started, we couldn't boast of real money. Because you don't start with money. You start with vision. Lord, we want to do this. We believe it can be done, and it's for your glory. And you begin to move. And then the vision will be driving you because you can see it. You know it's possible. Even when the city says it can't be done, you know it will be done because you have seen it first. But unfortunately, there are too many people that are too blind to see greatness. No one succeeds who has no vision. So I get to our first discussion point, therefore. What are the indications that someone is visionless or blind in the journey of life? When you see someone, how do you know that this fellow is visionless or blind in the journey of life. What are the indications that someone is visionless or blind in the journey of life? The second question there is, what's the way out of blindness? You know, okay, so maybe I can't see, and you know truly that you cannot see. What is the way out? There are some great stories here that I've seen. I mean, I remember when Pastor Egbuna moved here. And that's why sometimes when I see people coming now, I just laugh. When they think their issue is, oh, what kind of life is it? I knew when he was living. I mean, he was the one that was the coordinator of our resource center. We had a success seminar in Nigeria. Then we finished the success seminar. A young man walked behind me, and I looked back and said, oh, Pastor, that was a good seminar. But I think we need to do, one more step. I said, what is that? I said, what about opening a resource center where we can train people, to be entrepreneurs, and, they can begin to, I said, that's a good idea. You are the Joseph. And then you will coordinate the resource center. Again, you know the story. I mean, Cornerstone, when I resumed as the area pastor, the entire money in the wallet was 22,000 naira. That was all. In fact, they warned me that the outgoing area pastor says, don't do any send forth, because he knew he didn't have money. Now, the parish I was coming from as a parish pastor, one day I was trying to raise money for musical instrument that will cost about $1 million plus. Somebody walked to me in the office and said, sir, whenever you want to raise any money that is 1 million below, don't announce again. Just come to me. So that was where I was coming from. I went to become area pastor, where I met only 20. So there was no money. So this bishop said, let's start a resource center. And I said, okay, if we are going to do a resource center, the way it's going to work is that we have to build the building. So when I told the pastors, I even now complicated. He said, well, let's use Children's Church. I said, no, it's not going to work. We have to build something. Where's the money to build? I said, you don't worry. The following Sunday, I shared the vision with the people. So if you have blocks, bring. If you have cement, bring. If you have sand, bring. Pastor Onike laid the foundation. In 2 weeks, the building where 30 people can be trained was standing. 2 weeks. It was done. Everybody, then we need computers, boom. Brought computers, 5, set it up. Then we are looking for volunteers who will train people how to make, heart, how to make cakes, how to make. He was the coordinator. Now, after about maybe 1 year after then, long story short, they were invited. They weren't looking to go to America. In fact, he didn't want to come. He came to me that, look, my in-law said they had filing something for my wife, blah, blah, I don't really think. I said, how can you reject what you have not seen? Go to the embassy, don't prepare too well. Just go. And if they give you well, out of your careless preparation, then, it must be something to look out for. Of course, then he got the visa. I warned him though. So you are not going to go, your wife will not go first and you go later. The two of you and your daughter, you are going the same day. I said, okay. And I thank God for those who can take counsel as it is, because some people will argue with you, and what can you do? You just, okay, that's what you want, So then the 3 of them left. I remember the same 4 was in my house. You were there. And so they left. But then they went to California. And then they gave them some idea, a very complicated idea, like they have given some of you too. You can divorce your wife, and then, you marry somebody, and then, when you get your paper, you divorce that one, and then you marry your wife back. I said, I have my business in Nigeria. I'm not hungry in Nigeria. You might not know, Sister Maureen is a dentist. She has that practice in Nigeria. So they weren't like, you're hungry. It was just God working some things out. So we can't do that. Instead, we go back to Nigeria. The money they came with was dwindling. I remember, like yesterday, March of 2004, I was visiting Houston. I came for a training. I can't remember which of the hotels now. But I remember it was March 31st, because it was their 7th wedding anniversary. They both came to visit me in the hotel. They trekked in the rain. It was drizzling. And I was going to give them wedding anniversary, and we couldn't go too far. So it was one Indian, was it Indian restaurant? It was one Indian restaurant near the hotel. That was how we did their 7th anniversary wedding. And as we were going, I was drizzling. I saw them trekking to where they were living. Their first house was like a school. You know, one husband and wife can't do too many things with the daughter around. And I'm not joking. They are here. It's very small. That was where they stayed. But they began from that, little beginning, very, very little beginning. They had no car. In fact, when we came in July, we were on holiday, and it was that same July that God, my cross-posting worked out. So somebody in church looked at them that this, wonderful couple, they smile all the time, and they have no car. Maybe we should give them a car. So the guy gave them a car. My wife tried to drive the car and said, oh, my arm is paining me. The steering is so stiff. That was the beginning. So those who came in and said, oh, you are here, 2 months, you even have a car. Your house is big. You don't know anything. So, of course, Sitamoni decided to do F2, F1, went to school, etc. But he himself had to think that, what can we, I can't be like this. And that's how he started his business. He knew some people who need computer in Nigeria. They can't ship too many things. They will tell him, ship this computer, man, send it to them. The only thing is you pay me first. I send the thing to you, take my commission, move from computer to cars. Some of the people helping him to clear things. I know, is he a maker, one a maker guy, or what's his name? He never met that guy. Maybe he met him maybe like 10 years after they've done business together. My point is, don't just sit down there stranded, as if your life is finished because of your situation. They were never out of status once till they got their green card. Not once. But you must see it. If you are blind, you'll be stranded. So the question is, I thought they would put the discussion point there. What did I say was discussion point? How do we deal with this blindness? The question is, what are the indications that someone is visionless or blind in the journey of life? Question number 2, what's the way out of blindness? So let's talk about it. Many of you have your own success stories. Let's learn from one another quickly. Who is going to start? What do you see and say, this fellow I think is blind, no vision?
Praise God. I don't know if this answers it, but just to start off the discussion. One thing that just comes across my mind is that if you are doing something because somebody has done it, not that God has given you a vision, and that is very common. Maybe somebody is, let's say, selling drums, and because and the person is selling so well, and you think, well, I can sell drum too. Well, I know how to sell stuff. And you start selling drum, then you don't prosper in it because that other person might have the vision. God might have spoken to the person on how to go about it, but because you just want to do what somebody else is doing without having your own personal vision.
Thank you very much. That's a very great answer. Where are all the young boys? Okay, Dr. Uche, you can come. Please come. I was going to use a boy, but you are a boy too. The blind man. This is the way he moves. Somebody is in the front, and then he goes, and then you see, he knows. Let's clap for Jesus. That is a perfect example of blindness, and that tells you how blind many Nigerians are. We just hear that something is moving. Everybody just troops. Then we spoil the thing. Have you not seen that anything that Nigerians starts, they spoil before they leave it? Oh, seriously. Let's face reality. The emergency medical service thing, Nigeria flogged it like no man business. In fact, many of them are in jail right now. Many are in jail. In fact, there was one time that virtually anyone you turn to, left, right, center in our church is EMS. They know, they are laughing. I know them. Some of them, I forced them to resign. Some of them, pressure got them to resign. But one of them, no longer here now, when they had messed up the place, because they will have them to sign some things that they have gone to visit some patient who they have not gone to visit, or in fact, they will go there and carry the fellow into the ambulance who is not sick at all. Oh yes, they know. I'm looking at their face, I'm turning my face away from them, But then one of the times, the owner of one of the businesses was arrested. So those who worked for him during that window, they began to go to their houses. So one of them came to me and said, "Pastor, I need prayers." I said, "What happened?" Said, "FBI came to his house." I said, "What did you do?" He said, "They came to ask me that on so date that he went to pick someone. Was that fellow sick or not?" He said, "Sir, I'm not a doctor. Whether he's sick or not, I don't know." I'm not a doctor. So I said, "Okay, this is pastor's office. Now between us, I know, between us, is this fellow sick?" The smile gave him away. They arrested him still. He was still arrested. They did. He was looking for bail everywhere. He was charged. It was just divine intervention. I know a couple. The husband went in for, I think, was sentenced for, I believe, 10, maybe the wife 15, himself 10. And the wife had to go. I think the husband went in first so that the wife can take care of their young children. And when the man will be finishing, the wife will go. People don't think to get into something. Now, I'm seeing a trend now. A lot of the male, and don't take me out of context, I'm only telling you what I've observed. The reigning thing now is correction officer. In fact, people who just resign their job say, "Where are you now?" Correction officer. Correction officer. Well, I'm not saying you shouldn't work. My question is, whose voice did you hear? What did you see that propelled you there? In 1998, Jigo Prakla was folding up. You know the story. I was the chief accountant. Their major client, Shell, wasn't paying. And if you know anything about Schlumberger at all, you can't make loss. If the business is not going on, they fold it up. So they were going to close my own segment. The decision had been taken. I was the one paying people off. They had not told me my next job. In the middle of that, Akim Giwasaki just bought UBA. And many of those top guys, Mike Ajuku was the AGM executive director at that time. So he was looking for young professionals. I was very young at that time, 32. I was chief accountant already. So they needed some young guys who would be, top, bank officers. So he came. And they offered me double my salary, my current salary, with official car. But I needed to go back from Port Harcourt to Lagos. But, if your company was folding up and they had not told you your next job, shouldn't that be a blessing from God when a job is not coming and you have double salary? That's divine intervention. But my heart, I lost my peace immediately. And I always thank God when you have a spouse that is also sensitive. Because an average woman said, "What are we going to eat?" You say you are following up. Which job are you going to do now? Tell me. They've not told you your next assignment. Now my wife said, "I think this job too. I don't like it. I'm not comfortable with it." So I stopped telling my friends, because my friend that I told thought something must be wrong with you. So I stopped telling anybody. That was April. By June, I took the teenagers to camp in Lagos. By the time I returned, Schlumberger had come into a group of company. And they were looking for their very first compensation and benefits manager. They have been looking for me everywhere. When I came, so they are HR looking for you. I'm an accountant. What am I to do with HR? They were saying, "Look, please don't turn down this offer." I said, "Which offer?" The offer was 8 times my salary. 8, literally 8 times. And now 4 times the UBA offer. Official car, everything, and driver. Now, you don't just jump because people are jumping. There are people that studied Yoruba and English in Nigeria, or accounting, or something far from nursing. And so you arrive here, they said, look, the only way you can ever make it in this country is if you if you do nursing. And I know people that have done nursing, they are sad going to the hospital. There is nothing wrong with nursing if that's your passion. Some people can't do any other thing. But nursing, because they are just called. It's not just a job. They love it. But there are people, even sight of blood, to give somebody injection, their hands shaking like this. But because they have been told that that's the only way of survival, and they rush and do nothing. So you are right, man. The very first sign of blindness is just to do things because somebody is doing it. And that's the reason. See, you enter this country and you stay with somebody driving what they call it, taxi. That's what you will do, except you have vision. If you see those guys doing credit card fraud those days, I mean, it's just following each other, following. So when you are the fellow that just go do something because somebody is doing it, you are blind. You must do it because you see it. They find that a job pays 150, another job pays 100. Doesn't mean the 150 job is better than 100 job. You just must see it. So